As I told you early on in my last filming of this, the Corona time was ours. It's still ours because people are still afraid. And as I speak again, just as I commented about Bitcoin breaking news, and I commented on the 2 new Hall of Famers, as I sit here now, the Indian variant is raising its ugly head. And even though the UK just changed to a lesser strict rules vis-a-vis COVID, if the variant continues to increase as it has been the last several weeks, a few weeks actually, we may have to go to total lockdown again. And to the UK, most of the world is called amber. In other words, not safe to go unless it's emergency. It's not red, but it's amber. And it's not likely that's going to change. That's not likely that it's going to change. And so, I mean, the world is still fucked. Now, we know there's a lot of places in the world that are just ignoring COVID. Well, I know they do that at their own peril, and I wish them a lot of luck. Now, moving through the QLA Mentor program and trying to continue to get better results, we started a mentor program in August of 2010. Now, what it started as and what it ended up being are 2 different things. We've gone absolutely bonkers trying to refine the report, and the weekly report is pretty onerous. And I tell the kids that go to the seminar, if you want your employees, everybody complains about, well, in my state or in my country, you can't fire anybody when they're worthless. If you give them that weekly report, and there's copies of it on the internet, they'll quit within a month. Because for the first time, you're holding them accountable for their time and their productivity. And heretofore, you haven't done that, so they'll quit. So we started with a mentor program in August of 2010. We started doing homework in the seminars. And then we graduated from homework to pass in your homework where it was mandatory, okay? Before, because when I went to university, unless the professor told you had to turn in the homework, if you had to read chapters, it was up to you to read the chapters. And every time we tightened the noose, so to speak, the kids' results got better. Then we started doing the mentee webinars during the seminar, meaning a successful mentee that's out there in the real world films an interview, hopefully during the seminar, but not always. Sometimes it was just the mentee and myself, and we played them back during the seminar. If it was a live webinar, then we opened it up to questions from the audience. And remember, the audience was normally between 18 and 24 people. That's it. Because the seminars only put out about 200 to 220 people a year in a normal year. And this last year wasn't a normal year. Okay. Then we developed tests to instill knowledge, various tests on the website. And we continued to refine the test. And then we added a test, and we added another test to develop a roadmap. And the harder the tests we made, the less people that passed them. And as of yesterday, I believe, when I asked my crack staff for the most recent results, the most recent test, arguably the hardest test, over 99% of the kids fail it. 99% of the kids fail the test. When I took the test, in the 90s, you could count the people that passed the test on 2 hands. Now, a number of people have passed the test, and so that's when we developed the second and the third test. But the test whether you do something contrary to the culture that you were raised in. For those from the hood, from those from poor backgrounds, from those that were from backgrounds where you did get in fights on the school ground, they normally have higher scores. And then 3 or 4 years ago, quite by accident and serendipity, we developed a hardcore seminar. just by a question somebody asked me in the seminar, Mr. Peña, do you realize it's Easter Sunday today? No, really? You mean Good Friday was 2 days ago? He says, yes. I said, God, I wonder if we had a seminar over Christmas, if anybody'd come. Within 72 hours, we had, a couple hundred requests. Because not everybody likes Christmas. First of all, not everybody's a Christian, okay? But not everybody likes Christmas, contrary to what you've been led to believe by all the sales and shopping and the Santa Clauses in the stores, okay? We also, in conjunction with that, we developed, we got so many questions. Where do I start? We developed the QLA for Dummies. It's outlined what to do. And one of the reasons we don't answer questions, or I don't answer questions in social media, is because they have the outline, QLA for Dummies. Step 1, 2, 3. And they ask, where do I start? What do I do first? Now, either the average person that is interested in QLA has got a 40 IQ, or you're lazy mentally. Because if I asked you, let's go for a run or let's go work out, or, you're probably not lazy. So we developed the QLA for Dummies. And that helped. It wasn't the answer, though. It wasn't the answer. And then, as serendipity would have it, about 7 years ago, this last Easter, I bullied my way onto London Real with Brian QLA Rose. And I told him I would change his life. And for those of you that watched London Real prior to 7 years ago, you saw him in his T-shirt and his jeans and with his little goatee thing and his hair on top of his head like this, trying to make him look 2 inches taller. And now you look at him, he goes to the same tailor I do, which was the tailor, a guy named John Kent in London, who was the tailor for Prince Philip and myself. John has a royal warrant. And then I was exposed to social media and what it could do. I pretty much ignored it. I'm trying to think if it was Bill Gates ignored the internet. And then part of that is 3 years ago Joe Rogan was kind enough to ask me on his show. Again, I got myself on the show through a connection, a guy that Joe likes and a guy that likes me. And then more recently, a year and a half ago, Logan Paul, who is now going to fight Merriweather, which I wish Logan all the luck in the world. And then I got on Vlad TV, year and a half, and then of course, my own mentee, Dan Locke, a couple years ago, and then 2.5 years ago, I got on One America News Network, and a few months ago on NTD News, which are both very conservative TV stations. And so I've continued to spread the word. And then more recently, I got on, not got on, but I was fortunate enough to be interviewed by the LA Times, and more recently, the Spectrum, TV station did a piece on me just a few days ago. So that's kind of the evolution. Now, in between there, the last 12 or 14 months, Corona has been the only thing, as I said earlier in another filming, that has helped QLA. Now, you may think maybe the old man got sick. What do you mean helped? It helped us because it eliminated the competition. It eliminated the competition, 1. 2, it not forced, but it made sellers more motivated because they realized they had no real exit other than falling dead in their business. Okay? And 3, and what the mentees really like the best, not just the ones that come to the seminar, but the ones that are doing it having never attended the seminar because all the information is free. You can talk to a lot more lawyers, a lot more accountants, a lot more prospective sellers via Skype and Zoom than you ever could in person. Now, whereas I used to make 3 or 4, 5 presentations a day using shoe leather, you can do 3 or 4, 5 presentations before lunch via the internet. How many did that? Well, the two Hall of Famers that I described at the beginning of this session did, plus there's many others that have done the same. We have a potential future Hall of Famer going to be interviewed for the Godfather series this Saturday. And he's not the best we have. He's certainly in the top 25%. He's done a lot. I believe his EBITDA numbers stand at about 10 million, 9 or 10 million now. By the end of the year, it should be 15 million. He's a young guy. And all these guys, the two Hall of Famers are guys that they're in their early 40s. This guy's in his middle 30s. And so it's continued to develop. But there is still a overwhelming thought process from you that still don't believe the QLA works. Now, we don't get as many negative comments on Reddit as we used to. I kind of miss them, actually. I used to get a yuck out of them. But you think it's too good to be true. You think that this is impossible. If this were the case, how come everybody doesn't do it? Well, they've been telling me that for 28 years. If some of my high school alumni guys, or even a university, would tell you, if Dan Peña can do it, anybody can do it. Because I wasn't class president. I wasn't voted to be the most successful, any of those things. I wasn't a part of student government. So, I mean, you're not sure why. And so, even though I continue to do things to make it more believable that anybody can do it, when we show you people that have been super successful, you will pull out of their background one thing that differentiates them. Oh, he went to an Ivy League school. He was a world-class athlete. That's why I'm very reluctant to be anybody's chairman. Dan was his chairman. Et cetera, et cetera. And that's not true. What it really means is that they worked their balls off, implemented it. It's not remarkable at all, really. I was asked here recently, since in the last week, and it has nothing to do with Bitcoin, but it has to do with my own preference, what I do in my leisure time. And somebody asked me, when you watch TV and you're not watching news, and I watch CNN, not too much, Fox, you can hardly get here anymore, CNBC, BBC, Al Jazeera, and a couple of the European news stations. But when I do watch TV, and it's normally late at night, normally I watch the 11 o'clock news, and then 11:30 I watch the preview of the newspapers from either BBC or Sky News. And then I watch some TV, and I normally watch Fargo or Deadwood are my two favorites. Fargo is a spoof on from Fargo, I think it's South Dakota. It might be Minnesota, I think South Dakota. And of course, Deadwood is South Dakota from the 1870s, where every other word is fuck, etc. And I should have lived then. But normally I'm watching the news. And I told you over Easter, I watch a lot of stuff about the robe, etc. Now, I watched a short special last night on the young Winston, about Winston Churchill, and how he participated in the last British cavalry charge, and I think it was 1898, when the British were fighting the Ottoman Empire, I believe it was, and the young 23-year-old lieutenant got to be in the last cavalry charge. And so I did some research about the last charges in the last 100 years. And the Polish army has been involved in 2 of the 3 last cavalry charges. One when they were fighting with the Russians, and another during the Ottoman time. But a lot of my seminar is based on Andrew Carnegie, and a lot of it's based on the thought process of Winston Churchill. And it's hard not to believe that participating in that cavalry charge in 1898 didn't shape him forever. It's the same thing, or the lack of discipline, or the lack of facing fear, that most of the kids fail in QLA because they're afraid of the unknown, and more importantly, they're afraid of failure. They're afraid of what other people say. I was trying to look up on the internet before I came out here. One of the famous guys, I don't know if it was Will Smith or one of the famous current actors, "If you don't like me, that's your fault," or words to that effect. Yet, most of the kids that come to the seminar are, unfortunately, in my opinion, would rather be liked than effective. I certainly have never suffered that. I've never suffered where I gave a shit. Got me in a lot of trouble over the years. Got me in a lot of fights when I was young. Got me thrown out of a couple of companies as I grew older. We will continue on the QLA Godfather in the bar motif. I decided not to smoke a cigar because I was positive we either had to turn off the fire alarm, so I decided not to do it. We will continue, and in the next filming, we will show how during the same time frame of Corona and Bitcoin, how you would be infinitely better off having followed the QLA methodology than investing in Bitcoin. Thanks for everything, and I'll see you next time.